Stand by. You're up.
All right, welcome to the show, World Soccer Radio, Sports Byline USA, Radio Network. Nick Eber and Danny Page with you today in the wake of what has been just an extraordinary weekend in the Barclays Premier League. Some terrific results. And Danny, today it was proven that the big clashes don't have to be snooze fests.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great 1-0 game this ended up being today, Nick. And so frequently we wonder and if those 1-0 games can be classics. We criticize how much quality we see on the field. We saw a whole lot today. What a great match.
Absolutely. So we're going to get into all of that today. Of course, we're going to talk about the big City-Chelsea match. We're going to talk about Mourinho. We're going to talk about Pellegrini. We're going to talk about all of that. But we're going to look at some of the other matches as well in the Premier League. Man United lose again. Liverpool give points. Everton shows some real backbone, Danny, real backbone. And, of course, we've got to talk about what's going on at Newcastle.
Yeah, really interesting stuff. Your boy, Nick, Joe Kinnear, has stepped down. Maybe you should try to get him to come on the show as like a co-host now that he's out looking for a job.
Well, Danny, where would that put you?
Hey, you know what? He'll be the director of football, and it's his decision then to do what he wants with me, I suppose.
All right, give us a call in studio, 800-878-PLAY. We will be joined at about 25 past the hour by Kartik Kirshnaiyer from World Soccer Talk. Kartik is a huge Manchester City fan. He has been crying a lot this evening, but we will be here to provide him with some family support, some, shall we say, therapy for his deep, dark, and twisted football soul.
He's not a Broncos fan as well, is he?
I hope not. If he was, it's been a rotten couple of days.
Yeah, Man City was at least a lot better than Denver was. I think that's kind of the good news in their home defeat, their first loss at the Etihad Stadium this year.
Actually, Newcastle looked a little like Denver to me, but we'll get into all of that. 800-878-PLAY. Find us on Twitter at World Soccer Radio. That's at World Soccer Radio. By the way, big hello to our men and women in uniform listening around the world. On American Forces Radio, it's a privilege for us to speak with you as we do each and every weeknight from 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on this very network. Also, we'd like to welcome everyone listening on one of the affiliate stations of the Sports Byline Network, or whether you're listening on iHeartRadio or TuneIn.com, or you're watching the video feed on YouTube at Watch WSR or through WorldSoccerTalk.com. An absolute privilege and a pleasure to be with you. We got so much to get to today, Danny. It's one of those wonderful days where literally I don't think the next hour is going to be nearly enough to scratch the surface. Man. But we do have to go to break, so we'll do that. Use the loo, and we'll see you off this. All right, welcome back. World Soccer Radio. Nick and Danny with you. We do have a ton to get to today. So, Danny, what I've decided to do is to make a programming change for our listeners and viewers today. I have canceled the world-famous and eagerly awaited World Soccer Radio halftime show.
You left yesterday's halftime show, though, pretty stoked on Bruno Mars.
Yeah, never thought I'd say this. I
didn't see that one coming, man. I didn't see that one coming.
Really enjoyed his show. I thought he was terrific. It was like little James Brown, little Prince. I mean, it was fun. It was great stuff. And I never really realized I was a Bruno Mars fan. Not the sort of music I would typically get into. But I really enjoyed the show. Well done on him. Well, good on you,
You know
Bruno.
who needs to play the Super Bowl halftime show? Deadmau5, bro.
All right, enough of that. All right, let me tell you. There was a man today who was basically playing the halftime show of his very own. And I don't know if we want to play this right now, Danny, but let's talk about what happened with Jose Mourinho, who, in my mind, Danny, look, I've said this on this show and before this show, and I've been saying this for a long, long time. In my mind, in my opinion, again, you please disagree with me if you would like, right. Jose Mourinho is the best manager in football over the last 10 years. His results will bear that opinion out. Love him or hate him, I happen to love him because he's quite the wonderful, larger-than-life character that says crazy stuff, and everybody loves him. But he really speaks from the heart. I mean, there's a lot of honesty that comes out of Mourinho's mouth. Now, he does tend to twist it so that it'll work for him in the various situations. But he's a genius. He's a master manipulator. Danny, let's just talk. A few days ago, we were talking about Mourinho's 19th century football in the wake of them losing points to West Ham United. Everybody expected him to park that luxury hotel right there, but did he do that today?
No. Really incredible to come out with a 4-3-3. It's one thing that bothers me, Nick, about some of the big football matches we see and big managers, is that because they have let me take a step back. When we talk about big decisions going into big matches, you know what the team news always is now? It's just who is playing. Yeah. We already know what formation they're in. Managers don't go that extra inch to look deep tactically into what they can do to change and win a match. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even in these Champions League ties, we know what formation Bayern will be playing going in. We know how Barcelona will line up. We know what Man United are going to do when they play Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, so on and so forth. But Jose went in today in the biggest league match of the season, and he said to himself, you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to do what I think will win this match. And we just don't see it anymore, do we? And that was special for him to bring out the 4-3-3 away to Man City. It was just fantastic.
Well, it was brilliant. And, he was quite in his element in the post-match press conference. He let I would say we got a little bit more of an insight into his mindset. I'd like to play this for you. I don't know if you've seen it. This is courtesy of the Mail Online. If you haven't seen this press conference, we are going to play it for you right now. This is Jose Mourinho right after the match in the post-match press conference.
I didn't speak. It was Billy the Masseur that spoke to the team.
What was his final message?
I'm serious. Yeah.
What did he tell him then?
Bill? He was screaming so much in his Scottish, I didn't understand really. I'm serious. I didn't understand, but the players were clapping. Okay, let's go.
So you left it to the masseur today? That was...
Yes, was Billy team talk. I'm serious.
Why do you do better in the bigger games?
Sorry?
Why do you do better in the bigger games?
Because we love it.
Learning?
We love it. We love the big games. We love the big games. Obviously, when you love it, maybe you feel extra motivated for that. And I keep saying the same. The best thing for the evolution of this team is not to play Europa League, is not to be 15 or 20 points behind the leader. The best thing for the evolution is to play matches with certain kind of pressure, to be there, to be close to the leaders. When we play Arsenal at the Emirates, Arsenal was a leader. Today we come here and we play against the leader. So this is the best thing that can happen to these players. So I'm happy. We deserve. But I think maybe Arsenal is happier than us because now they are top of the league and they play City at the Emirates. So maybe now Arsenal feels they are the favorites for the title.
All right, Danny, what do you think about that?
I think that he brings up these little anecdotes to deflect. And what a hilarious presser that had to be after the fact.
Yeah.
I think he brings up these little anecdotes to deflect the attention away from how really fantastic his tactics were. And mind you that, the post-match press conferences in the UK are very different than, say, what you'd see in the Super Bowl or with American sports, where the press can just kind of keep going and going. There's a very limited number of questions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think he wanted to keep the attention away from the fact that he brilliantly played this 4-3-3 and completely outwitted Pellegrini, because he wants to keep some of the moves he made sort of still in his back pocket. Does that make sense, Nick?
Well,
in regards to Jose's approach?
It does, but what I found particularly telling in this interview, Danny, was that the two things that he said. I mean, obviously the fact that the masseur gave the team talk. I mean, that's just funny.
Yeah.
But when he asked him, what do you do differently about these big matches, and he just said, well, we just love it. And then he made some not so subtle digs at Rafa Benitez and what they did last year by saying, maybe what this team needs isn't the Europa League. It's not beating up on small teams. Again, there's a little dig at City. It's the big games. It's coming out here for the big games. It's the big performance. That is what this team needs. And I think he's absolutely right. And one thing that the media does, Danny, and particularly here in the United States, but very much also they do it in the UK, is they're very, very quick to crown champions. I mean, we were just talking about the quad for Man City. Now, look, I've been saying all along, careful with these sorts of things, okay? Because there's still a lot of football to be played. And, when you're talking about winning a quad, there's so many, I believe the word I used on Friday, Danny, was there's so many opportunities for a slip-up. And, I'm not saying that Man City aren't going to go on and win the title. They very well might. But you can't count out Chelsea, you can't count out Man City, and you can't count out Arsenal. Those are the only three things I'm going to say for a certainty.
Well, I think one well-known television network in the United States has it on point when they cover the NFL. I'm bringing up the NFL again today, I guess, because the Super Bowl was yesterday.
Yeah, it's a bit of a snooze, but go ahead.
Every Monday after the NFL games, they do what they call Jump to Conclusions Monday, which is basically, all right, we know we're out of line in making these comments.
Yeah.
We know that we're just being, we're making haste decisions, that we're not really providing educated long-term analysis, but we're going to do it anyway. And that's what the British press does all year long.
Well, the American press does it even better, Danny. I mean, they do it.
That's what I'm saying. The British press just goes out and crowns champions. And it was early. If you pushed me to who would win the title, I would still have City today because they can outperform everybody else.
Yeah, but how many really, really tough games ahead does Chelsea have, Danny?
That's true. That's true.
I believe they have Liverpool away.
Yep. I'm trying to bring it up here, actually.
I believe they have Liverpool away. Tell you what, let's pull up our still, which is now a little dated, but we'll pull it up anyway. There we go. Yeah, Chelsea have Liverpool away. That's it.
Tottenham home, Arsenal home, Liverpool away.
That's it. That's it. City still have away United, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Everton. Is that right?
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that is really tough.
Staggering.
I mean, Arsenal have United at home, City at home, and then they have Tottenham, Chelsea, and Everton away. This title is way up in the air at this point. I'm not prepared to crown a champion, Danny. I don't think you should be either. I don't think anybody should.
I'm not crowning a champion. I'm just providing my opinion. I said if I was pressed to.
Well, Danny, your opinion is rubbish, all right? Okay, just joking. Well, soccer radio.
I could take a hit though. By the way, how about those Seahawks, man?
No, let's not. Let's not, Danny. Isn't
that beautiful? Come on, give it up for
Pete.
It
was a good match. I agree.
Just a hot.
No, don't give anything to Pete Carroll. Okay,
he's the Jose Mourinho of American.
All right, we're gonna go to break. We'll come back, pick it up with Kartik Kirshnaiyer from World Soccer Talk after this.
I'm serious, nigga. What do y'all think about this?
Stand by.
Hey, baby. Hey, baby, give me the bubble over this motherfucker.
You're up.
All right. Little Snoop Dogg for you there. Love that. That's fantastic stuff, Danny.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, I got some tweets to read here.
Well, we're going to get to them, Danny. By the way, just want to remind everyone they can find us on Twitter. It's at World Soccer Radio, at World Soccer Radio. We do have a lot to get to today, and of course, a massive day in the Premier League as Manchester City fall to defeat at home, no less, against Chelsea, and a rather smug and happy Jose Mourinho. So, Danny, what do you got on the Twitterverse?
Twitterverse. Gosh, it's unbelievable. I got a few things coming in here. We got D-Mac that obviously is something of a City supporter. He predicted a 1-0 tight City win. It went the other way. He says, today was tough to stomach. City's back line was horrible. Chelsea's counterattack was magnificent. And he's right.
Yeah.
I mean, after that goal, you looked back saying, boy, they could have done this a couple times before. They were crisp. They were sharp. Great stuff. You can hit us up on Twitter, at World Soccer Radio. One other coming in from Eric Hunt, who, by the way, I love his handle, at Oliver Kahn 987. Still pretty new. He says still pretty new to watching EPL, but the Chelsea side today showed spirit, skill, and hustle I've rarely seen in sport. Very well said, Eric. I mean, you had to watch that and just really appreciate the way Chelsea did it as a team and a unit.
Yeah, it was a very surprising performance from Chelsea, who came out.
Wasn't that surprising, though?
No, what was surprising, Danny, was that they came out and showed no fear. There was no fear, no panic, absolute confidence in that squad, in the game plan, in what they were doing. Mourinho showed what a master he is today. Let's bring in Kartik Kirshnaiyer from World Soccer Talk, who I'm going to have to spend some special time with today to soothe his troubled football soul, as Kartik is struggling with a massive defeat for his beloved Manchester City Football Club. Kartik, how's it going?
It's going okay. It was a difficult one to stomach, although in truth, when the team sheets came out earlier today, guys, and we saw Fernandinho, there were rumors this morning, U.S. time, that Fernandinho had picked up a knock in training. I tended to not believe him. I said, that's just the kind of scuttlebutt gossip you hear on the day of a big match. But when the sheet came out without him on it, then I was on some of the City message boards. People started to panic, myself included, saying, my goodness, against a team that counterattacks as well as Chelsea, you don't have your stopper that sits right in front of the back four and turns things around so quickly for us in there. And it was very noticeable, very noticeable.
Yeah, and of course, no Aguero, no Nasri. I mean, you know, it did mount up, but you know, that is no excuse, Kartik, because Manchester City are the deepest squad in the entire Premier League. So, you know, and again, I want to ask this question of you, Kartik.
Yeah, but still, Nick, hang on, Nick. Martin Demi-Kalis was your holding midfielder.
Okay.
It just, Javi Garcia was out. It just shouldn't happen that way. Fernandinho, it doesn't matter if you're the deepest team on the planet. If you lose, you know, 3 of your front 7 in Aguero, Nasri, and Fernandinho, you're going to struggle. You know, you're going to struggle, and they did today. I'm sorry. I can't. I think that's a big miss for them.
Well, and they were wasteful in front of net, wouldn't you say, Kartik?
Yeah, I don't know that Aguero was a big miss. I mean, I think City scores goals with or without Aguero. He just happens to be on the end of a lot of them. So I don't think that's an excuse. Nasri, I knew was going to be a problem when he got hurt a few weeks ago, and somehow City's masked it to this point. But Fernandinho, I've said this all season long. You've probably seen me say this on Twitter and previously on this show and on our EPL Talk podcast, World Soccer Talk podcast, that I think he's absolutely the best player on the City team, or at least the most influential player, because he's a two-way player. He's a guy who you essentially have 2 midfield positions in him covered by one player, a holding midfield position and a guy who quickly transitions City on the break, and those scintillating, mouth-watering moves. That having been said, you know, we haven't bought adequate cover for him with the amount of money we've spent on Jack Rodwell and Javi Garcia. I think Garcia would have done okay today, but we still would have been missing something. And as far as Di Michele, that's just tough. A lot of criticism of him tonight, but that's just not a position he's played since. I want to say the last time he played that position for Bayern was even in the 07-08 season. Then he dropped the center back. And at Malaga, he didn't play in that position. So it's been a while since he's played in the midfield, especially in such a big game.
Kartik, it is interesting because you talk about, well, we should have bought this, we should have bought that. Of course, there was some discussion over the weekend about a number of the big Premier League teams prepared to file a complaint against Manchester City and some of the bookkeeping stuff that they're doing to stay on the right side of financial fair play. I mean, it seems to me that you have a big squad, you have a deep squad, you got bit at the wrong time with some injuries. But I'll say what I said before, this scoreline would have been very different if you guys had actually been able to finish some of these opportunities. And there were a number of them in front of Petr Cech.
Right. Early in the match in particular, I think Dzeko was wasteful today. I mean, Dzeko, it's feast or famine. You know he's either going to get a bundle of goals or he's not going to score. David Silva has had games like this before where he's had opportunities, he's lingered on the ball for too long, or he's made one extra touch, played the wrong final pass. I'm not taking away from his brilliance. Generally, he's not like that, but he's had some games like this before where he's made his decision making has been flawed. That happened today, and I think another real issue with Yaya Toure, because Fernandinho was out of the team. The amount of defending he had to do, he couldn't come up and supplement the attack, make those probing runs that he's made. And quite frankly, and people were criticizing me on World Soccer Talk the other day when I said, from the Chelsea perspective, I love buying Matic and selling Mata. And I heard, well, Matic, they should have sold in the first place. We conceded that 3 seasons ago. But they bought him back. And he was so critical today to clogging up that midfield, taking advantage of Fernandinho being out, and really occupying Yaya Toure.
Yeah, I want to make up a point about that because, first of all, neither Toure had a particularly great weekend. Let's be honest about that in the footballing world. But, when I look at the three teams that are in contention for the title, and, the title race has, in fact, been blown absolutely wide open here. Rest assured that we are going to have a very exciting final flurry to the season here as we come into May. The one thing that struck me is when I look at the three teams talking about Chelsea, Man City, and Arsenal. You're right. Chelsea have that, those sort of the goon squad in the midfield. The big guys that can really assert themselves in a physical presence. Of course, City are a big and physical side, and Arsenal. Well, is there anyone on that Arsenal squad that would strike fear into any one player out there with their size or their physicality? Do we see those sort of players anymore at Arsenal? I don't think so.
No, in fact, that's a real good point. I've made the observation for years that Wenger buys a certain body type. I think the only guy that could possibly do that is Abu Dhabi, but he's been hurt now for the better part of 3 or 4 seasons, and he's out for this entire season. So, no, they don't have that player at all.
So the title race certainly has been blown wide open today. But Kartik, as we look ahead, and we did just put this picture up here. We'll put it up, and of course we'll talk our radio listeners through it. It's a little old now. We'll have to update it. But this is showing for the second half of the season all the various big matches. We were just saying now, City have away at United, away at Arsenal, away at Liverpool, and away at Everton. Chelsea have only away at Anfield left in terms of quote-unquote massive matches left. Of course, Arsenal have, home against United and City, away at Spurs, Chelsea, and Everton. So if you have to think who's in pole position right now, even though Arsenal are at the top of the table, you have to like Chelsea, although I'm still not 100% sold on Chelsea's consistency, Kartik.
Yeah, for a while, Chelsea's in the pole position in this in the league because of the fixtures. Mourinho has tried to push a narrative that they are underdogs, even after the game today, saying, well, this will set us up well next season, we can push for the title. It's been there all along, and Manchester City had to win this game because of the fact that those 4 games away. Now, they very easily could get 3 points at Manchester United, maybe even at Arsenal. Everton and Liverpool have proven to be tough places for City to go. Anfield and Goodison the last several seasons. And Manchester City hasn't taken full points at Goodison since 2008. The 08-09 season hasn't taken full points at Anfield since Anelka was playing for City. So that would have been 02, 03, 03, 04. I can't remember what season it was. I just remember Anelka getting the winner. So it's been a long time at both Liverpool grounds for City. So that puts City in a bad position. Now, Chelsea, of course, do have to get full points from Spurs and from Arsenal at home, and those are derbies, and those sometimes play out a little differently. I remember Arsenal went there 2 seasons ago and smashed them when people were calling for Wenger's head. And he responded with a 5-2 win, I believe, at Stamford Bridge, if you remember, just 2 seasons ago. So it's Chelsea is the favorite now, but any of the 3 teams could win it, certainly.
Danny, I see we got some good tweets. I see Barney Williamson's pipe chimed in.
Yeah, Bernie Wilkinson, that would be.
Oh, that
Nick.
Bernie Wilson.
He says, and you can hit us up on Twitter, by the way, at World Soccer Radio. I agree with Kartik, which is at KKFLA737. Though CFC back four did not allow any of the Manchester City players to show their brilliance, he is absolutely correct about that. Eric Hunt, again, we hit Oliver Kahn, 987 again, chimes in and says, strike from the woodwork. How many times? Chelsea unlucky. Thanks for the shout out. I've really enjoyed the show so far. And he's right. This thing could have been 2-3, a much larger margin. Let me put it that way. 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, something like that. All right,
World Soccer Radio, Sports Byline USA. We're talking with Kartik Kirshnaiyer from WorldSoccerTalk.com. You can find him at KKFLA737 on Twitter. Kartik is having a bad day. We'll cheer him up when we come back. Let's talk a little Newcastle United.
Congrats to again. Stand by. are up.
All right, now, Danny, who is that?
That's right.
Okay. There is a modicum of taste in your My Little Pony head.
I have great music taste. I just choose these days in my life to listen to electronic dance music.
All right, we'll just leave it right there. All right, well, look, obviously the discussion...
No, we're not leaving anything. No, all right.
The discussion today, obviously, is what went on in the Premier League. Look, this City match today was very surprising. I mean, you're talking about a team that has taken apart opponents, whether it's Arsenal, what was it, 6-3? Tottenham was, 9 goals over 2 games? Was that 11? 11-1, thank you. And not to mention a whole slew and slurry of other teams. I mean, frankly, the team that played Man City the best so far prior to today was Liverpool, who were unlucky not to get a result against Man City. So, I mean, they are fallible. We've seen that, but they have been so strong. That's why today's result was really so interesting for everyone, obviously, except for our resident manic depressive Kartik Kirshnaiyer.
Very true.
Well, if I can maybe change the subject here with a tweet we have, and
sure.
Kartik, you've been outstanding. You've been a good sport, but you know what? It's time to bring Nick down to your level. Here's a tweet from DMAC. It says, "At World Soccer Radio, Nick, what do you think of Yaya's brother keeping Liverpool from gaining on the table with the blown pass that led to the draw?"
Well, Liverpool gifting the points, and look, guys, this is why Liverpool are fighting for a 4th place in the Premier League. This is why when we talk about title contenders and contenders for the future, you just cannot right now look at Liverpool. There's a lot of building still to do at the club. There's a lot that they still need to do. I believe they will still get 4th place in the league where they stand right now. And I see, Danny, I saw a little head shake from you. If we look at the table right now, Liverpool in 4th with 47. Only 2 points ahead of Everton. 3 points ahead of Spurs. Of course, United... I'm sorry, guys. We can talk about this all you want, and Kyle Martino can talk about it all he wants. But United,
God, that hair though, man.
That hair does not move. But let's face it, United are not going to finish top 4. Everton, very interesting to me. Roberto, I cannot say enough what a marvelous job Roberto Martinez has done with this team, and what an astounding victory it was against Aston Villa, having gone 1-0 down, coming off that drubbing they got. That is a team that is showing me they possibly got what it takes, not gifting the points like that.
Kartik, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I think Everton is in a position where they blew some results in the last few weeks. They drew a game to West Brom, which they were in complete control of a week ago, and then the previous a few weeks earlier, you remember they lost Sunderland at home.
Yep.
So this was an important win for them because Villa has played pretty well away from Villa Park this season, better away from Villa Park than at home. And it looked like it was another game where they were going to throw away points, toss away points at home. Now they're only a few points behind Liverpool. And Liverpool, in spite of throwing away this game against West Brom, now 7 United. That's a significant number.
Yeah, right. No, exactly. They made up room on United because United right now are their own worst enemy. And look, we're going to talk about Man United as the week goes on because we have been spending a lot of time with Man United right now. They are not the story today. The story clearly the big match at the top of the table. Of course, and let's not forget, I mean, Arsenal pull away kind of a routine victory, 2-0, 2-0 against Crystal Palace to stay top of the table. I believe it was Alex Ferguson in a recent interview said the same thing that I've been saying, which is that, we all talk about City and Chelsea, but, Arsenal, they've kind of been at the top of the table for all but, 5 weeks out of the entire season.
Yeah, and what's funny is that Ferguson in his autobiography was very, very critical, mocking of Wenger's transfer policies, mocking of the Giroud deal, mocking of Robin Van Persie, and doing the deal with him. Now Wenger could have the last laugh because the Van Persie deal, Nick, you and I have talked about it repeatedly on this show for the last year and a half, was a gamble for United. Yes, they won a title last year. They might have won it without him. Arsenal was able to bank that money on a 29-year-old who was always getting injured, and they were able to reinvest it, and they reinvested it in Giroud, was one of the players. Ferguson made fun of that in his autobiography, saying, well, these are the kinds of players that don't win you titles. Well, and that's what Arsenal has started buying. Well, right now they're top of the table. As you said, they've been top of the table all but 5 weeks this season. They look comfortable. No one's talking about them for the title, but they look comfortable. They're not dropping the kind of matches that they did in previous seasons when Wenger was getting into trouble and having to push late to finish in third or fourth place. And they look like a team that is deeper than people thought. They've had a lot of injuries this season, a disproportionate number of injuries, which Arsenal seems to always have. Yet they're still atop of the table.
Okay,
but
you know, Kartik, I'm going to hold you right there because I have to ask Arsene Wenger. I mean, come on. What is this transfer policy he's got going on? He has to bring in a midfielder because of all of his midfielders are either suspended or injured. So he brings in a player who is injured already. Is that because he looked at the physio room and said is worried about the depth in the physio room rather than the depth of his team that's available to play? This is an astounding mistake from Wenger. Makes him look like a complete tool. And you know, I have to say, Arsene Wenger, WTF.
Yeah, the Shalstrom deal was really surprising given his injury. Now, he's a player that I liked a lot at Leon, and when he was transferred on Friday, I said, well, this is actually a pretty good deal. You get a veteran, you get a guy who's won a couple of French league titles, you get a guy who's gone deep in Champions League a number of times. I mean, Leon was going deeper than Arsenal, generally, many of those seasons, as you remember, in Champions League. I mean, he was the linchpin in that midfield. But what we did not know is that he's just been out for 3 months. So I'm not quite sure what the deal accomplishes. I mean, it doesn't accomplish anything, actually.
Oh, it's a real head scratcher, isn't it? And you know, you're not going to see Mourinho make those mistakes. You're not going to see Pellegrini make those mistakes. This is why, as much as I like Arsenal, and I do like Arsenal, by the way, and I think what they've done this season, given that first match, terrible. You know, look, let me put it this way. I'm one of these guys. I love to see situations where somebody surprises. You know, let's go back to the first match of the season, the loss against Aston Villa, the Wenger out, hashtag Wenger out. Are you here listening to me, Piers Morgan, and all of this sort of nonsense. By the same token, you know, whether it was the guys at Man United who were thinking they were going to go on and on winning titles no matter what happened, or, you know, Mourinho coming in and lowering expectations. I love the surprise. That to me is what makes sport so exciting. But I tell you, I look at Arsenal and I just scratch my head. I don't understand it. Does not compute.
Yeah, his poor decisions in the window, Nick. If they don't win the title this year, not that I agree with necessarily the Wenger out conversation, but he is to blame. Look, they seem to be pretty flush with cash these days that they can't spend, and he was too stubborn to go out and make the right decision at the right time, and it could cost him a golden opportunity to not just win a trophy, but to win the trophy. I think it is on him big time if they somehow can't pull this out.
And if you were to ask that of Arsene Wenger, I can guarantee you one thing. He'd look back at you and he'd say, Anyway, all right, Kartik. So that's the thought. I mean, it is. But I do want to talk a little bit about Newcastle United because I mean there was a massive time where Derby, of course, which is something that didn't get enough.
Just laughs.
Yeah, and it didn't get enough coverage. So the big story, of course, is that after much ballyhoo, Joe Kinnear has finally left. Now, I did hear that not wanting to be without a Kinnear, they've decided that they have in fact decided to hire in his place Greg Kinnear. And I'm not sure which one will be better. I think probably Greg Kinnear has more capacity to be a success. What do you think?
Yes, and let me remind people real quickly. In the 2 windows where Joe Kinnear was in control of transfers, Newcastle did not sign a single player on a permanent deal. Now, the last January window, when Graham Carr was still running their transfers, who's an excellent scout, actually the father of, I believe, the father of Canadian Archie Carr, Graham Carr signed 6 or 7 players from the French league, including Sissoko, Debuchy, Buffon, these really high-end players. So they went from being one of the best teams in the transfer market to being the absolute worst. Not just the worst in the Premier League, but the worst in Europe.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Joe Kinnear didn't even know the names of the players.
No, there was Johan Kabab. I mean, look, Newcastle United. How do you sell your best player?
for 19 million.
Help me. How do you sell your best player?
It's
I mean,
appalling.
you are finally getting back on track. They had a really, really scary time last season at the end when they looked like they were relegation bait at some point last season. This coming off a wonderful season the season before, but yet they give Alan Pardew a long-term contract. They bring in a guy whose sole job seems to have been to undercut Alan Pardew's success. I don't get it. It's another one. It's another head scratcher. It's almost like Vincent
Nick,
Tan
some
was
of
in
the
charge.
speculation- Well, yeah, but some of the speculation I've heard from Newcastle supporters that know the way Mike Ashley runs the club is that he had given Pardew the long-term deal. He didn't want to pay him for those 7.5 years. He thought by bringing Kinnear in, and Kinnear is such a prickly character, such
Push
a
him out,
difficult
right?
guy to work with, just such an idiot, really, that Pardew would actually resign so that he wouldn't have to pay him out. That's what he counted on, apparently. And Pardew stuck it through, and now Ashley has to look for another plan to get rid of Pardew and not pay out that contract.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff. I mean, really, only at Newcastle. Well, folks, let's take a look as we're about going to have to leave it here in a little bit because we are slowly coming to the end of the show today. Let's take one more look at the table where we sit today. Once again, Arsenal still on top. Man City and Chelsea, they are tied for second. Of course, City above on goal differential. Liverpool in fourth. Everton in fifth. So this, to me, guys, is shaping up to be the following way. Obviously, we got a three-way title race. You got to look at Chelsea or City probably as the favorites. I mean, you have to be honest. I mean, especially with Arsenal's move. In terms of the spot for the race for fourth place, looks to me like this race is between the two Merseyside teams.
I just don't have a lot of faith in Liverpool after what we saw this weekend, though, Kartik. I believe that there are still at the very least 3 teams involved in that race.
Yeah, and Spurs had 2 bad results last week, but don't count them out. They've got a deeper team and a stronger team than the other sides involved in this race, including Manchester United.
Yeah,
so,
they do, Kartik. But I'm hearing rumblings that Tim Sherwood is on his way out at the end of the season. That in fact Daniel Levy's not happy with him at all. So
Yeah, I believe that.
So that gets me worried. But Danny, you make a great point, and I'm not going to disagree with you. I mean, you certainly, neither team, I mean, Everton have shown more grit as of late in their ability to come back and win games, even though the Merseyside derby was huge. Everton have been racked by injuries. That will be their problem. Liverpool have to find their character 90 minutes every match, whether it's against Everton or it's against West Bromwich Albion. And when they can do that, then I will believe they will stake a claim for a regular fourth place spot. We'll see what happens, guys. All right.
I think it's going to be interesting.
All right, Kartik Kirshnaiyer, always a pleasure. You can find Kartik at worldsoccertalk.com. His Twitter is at KKFLA737. That is KK for Kartik Kirshnaiyer, FLA for Florida, and 737. That's the plane he's going to get on to escape extradition. All right. We'll check with you next week, Kartik. Cheers. All right, World Soccer Radio, Sports Byline USA. Nick and Danny with you.
Last time we ever have him on.
Oh, come on. Kartik loves us. When we come back, we're going to wrap it up. By the way, we'd love to hear from you. So our Twitter is at World Soccer Radio. Or if you've got something to say, find us in studio at 800-878-PLAY. A fascinating discussion. We'll, of course, continue it tomorrow. But meanwhile, there's just a wee little bit more left. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network. All right, welcome back to the show, World Soccer Radio. Once again, big hello to our men and women in uniform. Such a pleasure and a privilege to speak to you each and every weeknight, 9 p.m. Each and every weeknight, 9 p.m. 9 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. I read somewhere that you got to repeat something 60 times before people understand it. So that's about 4 there, Danny. You want to take a couple?
9 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Eastern. How many times fast can you say 9 p.m. Eastern time?
I don't know. It sounds like 9 Eastern. 9 Eastern. 9 Eastern.
You got that
All
right.
We'll be back on with you tomorrow, surprisingly enough, at 9 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Pacific. Well, we will continue the discussion because it has been an absolutely monumental match weekend in the Premier League. Of course, the Super Bowl went on, so everybody was excited about that. But I was just exhausted from getting up so early and watching Liverpool give away 2 free points to West Bromwich Albion. But, you know, what can you do? But then what a terrific, terrific match we had today. Really, really entertaining. And again, the drama, Danny, the soap opera that is world football never ends.
Yeah, really. The thing is, though, the soap opera is going to get a little bit slower. There aren't any midweek matches in England that come to mind. So you and I will get the rumor mill kick-started. We're going to have a lot of fun things to discuss this week. Bobby McMahon coming up tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Really looking forward to having Bobby back on the show. That is a big reason to listen, and we'll see everybody then.
And by the way, we will bring back our halftime show during the week because there's no midweek football, where I will be singing a medley of Bruno Mars hits. 800,
Just no Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, 800-878-PLAY if you want to call us here. Write that down. Of course, Twitter at World Soccer Radio. And Danny, we have an email.
Yeah, worldsoccerradio@gmail.com. That has 2 R's in it.
worldsoccerradio@gmail.com. That's how you can find us. Remember, tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern, put us in your schedule. Put us on your iPhone, your iPad, your iTwit, whatever the heck it is you use. Your watch, your smartwatch, or your head, or your dead diary. Write it in on your wife's face in Sharpie so you'll always remember. Okay, we'll be back with you tomorrow. In the meantime, folks, coming up on this very same network, a legend of the game. That's right, we are talking about Mr. Ron Barr coming up next right here on the Sports Byline USA Radio Network. You be sure to stay with Ron. He will not disappoint. Of that, I promise. We will not disappoint because we will be back tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. For me, Nick Eber.
And me, Danny Page.
Hey, we'll speak to you tomorrow.
I'm here.
Cheers. Have a good one.
Producing the show.
You guys have a good night.
All right, thanks, man. You too.
Thanks, bro.
That was a good one, Danny. Hey, man, great soccer show.
Hey, man, that was such a good, cool, fun show.
Good-
Just
good-
hanging out with
good.
my buddies, talking some soccer.
Radio News, I'm Richard.
Fuck, it logged me out again.
Facebook, Microsoft, Yahoo, and Google on Monday began publishing details about the number of secret government requests for data they receive, hoping to show limited involvement in controversial U.S. surveillance efforts. The tech industry has pushed for greater transparency on government data requests, seeking to shake off concerns about their involvement
Seeking
in
to
vast,
shit off
surreptitious
concerns?
surveillance
Jake.
programs revealed last summer by former spy contractor Edward Snowden. The Obama administration on Monday said it will soon begin hearings to resolve problems for people who
So
enroll
the
in health
routine
insurance.